Hey everybody, it's Guy Crittenden here. I am standing at the front of the property that will be the future home of the Thrive All Sustainable Community Project. This is an initiative of my friend Didi Berg. Just standing at the front of the property, and I'm going to shoot 2 or 3 segments giving everybody a tour of the land. Just my luck, you know, there's no cars for half an hour, and this minute I start shooting we have a couple of cars go by. So this highway here is Highway 522, which is about an hour and a half north. This location is about an hour and a half north of the town of Parry Sound, Ontario. And we're very close to Port Loring. So this is looking east on Highway 522 toward Port Loring, Ontario. That'll help you find it on a map. That's the nearest town. It's a small town. I may take some shots of that later on my way home. This is looking west on Highway 522. If you keep going in that direction, you eventually come to Highway 400, and just past that, Georgian Bay. Now I notice we already have some crap on the camera that I'll try to get rid of. I'm filming this on a day where there's a bit of rain and sleet. I have the camera under an umbrella, but naturally there will be times when I'll get some stuff on the camera, so I'll try and get that off of there. Sorry, this is not going to be a slick production for your entertainment. This is a practical video for the sake of touring everybody involved in the project design from the permaculture course with the property. I also have some other videos I can share that were taken during the summer where we can look at some of the insides of the buildings. I was also here in the fall taking photographs, so I have those to share as well, and we have some satellite maps and things like that. Anyway, this is the address of the property. As you can see from the sign here, it's 12344 on Highway 522 in Northern Ontario. There's the for sale sign. It shows that it's sold, and you notice it says adjoining Crown land. That's important information, because Crown land, for those of you outside of Canada, that's basically government land. It's wilderness. So that's what we have behind us here. So I'm just going to do an establishment shot. You can see my car with my Freedom Canadian flags on it. And we're looking at the highway, and we have direct access from the highway, and we have a big tall pine tree here. And we have a couple of buildings at the front of the property. The first building is a house, obviously. It has access to hydroelectricity, and I would imagine well water, and it's beside the road, and I think Didi is going to be living there at least initially. This could one day be used as a guest house for the property. It could be used as some kind of gathering place in the initial days. Right now it's kind of off limits to people who are buying here, because Didi will be living there and she wants her privacy. I do have another video that shows the inside of the house, I believe. It's not really important for our purposes here, but it's kind of a farmhouse type of a thing. We'll just walk over, take a look at it from another direction. So it's important to note that we have this structure that's already fully functioning and has heat and everything to help get the project started. Yeah, I'm noticing more rain and sleet on my camera lens. Sorry about this, folks. I'll just have to try and use my finger here and get that clean. I don't have any photographic wipes with me, unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to try and hold this a little bit better under the umbrella so that we can not have that happen all the time. Okay, well, this isn't bad. So that's the edge of the property at the front. I noticed there's a little tool shed over there. So this would just be kind of a lawn at the front of the property. I'm trudging through the snow here. I wore my snow boots. I also brought some snowshoes if I need for the back of the property. Now the other building is this shed structure. It's like a miniature barn, and I'm sure that that will be put to use as some kind of workshop, some kind of a place. It could be a utility shed. You could probably have vehicles stored in there to do snow plowing and such. We can decide later what we want to do with this. I don't think I'm going to get, there you can see me in the reflection there. I don't think we're going to get in, be able to see inside there, but again, we do have photos and video showing the inside of that place. And then this is the side of that structure. So you can see at the front of the property we have the house, and we have this structure that I'll just call the shed. And now we're looking back to the highway. Now what I'm going to start doing, you can see through the trees there, you may be able to make out the barn. There's a large barn up there, which is very convenient for us. I'm now going to walk off the area that is plowed. You can see where the plow has kept this clear. I guess Dee Dee has a contract with somebody to do that. I'm now walking along this roadway. It's not paved or anything, but there's a path or road. It's quite irregular, and it leads us deeper into the property. I just realized this is a big circular drive. You come in here, and you can see the tire tracks there where you can go out. So we have this big circular drive with these trees in the middle at the front of the property. One of the things I like about this property is that while it does have, it's on the highway, and in some ways I would like something set further back from the highway. From the highway it just looks like a house with a barn. It's relatively inconspicuous. But we can have the houses and the community further back from the road where it wouldn't be seen. And we do actually have I've just walked up a rise of land here, and this kind of creates a visual baffle separating the highway from whatever we build in the back, which is kind of nice. As long as we're up here, I might add that we could sacrifice this circular driveway and use some of this space at the front to build different kinds of structures, whether it's a food demonstration project, or we could do a mill for planing wood, something like that. So it's hard to convey with this video camera the exact scale and scope of things. Now this is covered with snow, but there is a road here, and this road is very convenient for us for when we start construction, so we can make use of that. It's also used by snowmobilers and people who want to, sportsmen. We have a neighbor who uses it, and we've given him the right to come in here, at least for the time being, because they like to go in use this to access that crown land. Maybe one day we'll stop that, but for now we want to be good neighbors, so we're allowing them to continue using this road. And here's the barn. Obviously it looks older. It's not in bad shape. It's pretty basic. We'll go around and take a look at it. So now I'm just going to pan back. That's the house back there through the trees and that shed structure. We're up on the height of land. And under my feet here would all be a combination of soil, a thin layer of soil, but a lot of Precambrian shield rock. That's mostly limestone, sometimes with granite mixed into it, and sometimes pure granite. And I'm walking around the back of the barn, trying to make this logical for you all. If you were to look at this video while looking at a schematic diagram, you'd have a good sense of where we are. So we're on the other side of the barn here. I don't know if I'm going to get into the barn. It doesn't really matter. There's this old dilapidated shed here. That's pretty much unsalvageable at this point. Maybe we could use some of that rotting wood for some purpose. I don't know. The barn, it's not locked. It's got this nail thing on it. If I can easily get this off, we'll take a look in there. But if it gets complicated, I'll just say forget it, because I know we have video of the inside of this thing. Yeah, I'm not going to bother. I don't want to waste too much time on this video trying to get into the barn. It's just going to be a typical empty barn. So I'm going to walk back up to the pathway or road. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this video in 2 or 3 segments. So this segment is obviously going to be the front of the property. So I'll periodically stop. So basically, just to situate you once again, we've walked from the front of the property around here. Now we're facing the back of the barn. And now we're entering the part of the property that is not visible from the road. And here's the roadway ahead of me. It's covered with snow. We have an old dilapidated caravan or RV thing over there. We have some old pile of tires which we'll clean away or use for some purpose. Maybe we can incorporate those old truck tires into our design for something. Recycle them. Now you can see still at what I would consider the front of the property, and we're walking down the road, and I'm going to stop in a minute and pan to first to the west and then to the east. I'm not exactly sure where the property line is, but it'd be some ways over there, maybe at that tree line. You see those 3 green small pine trees, and then the big pine tree to the right of that, and then a stand of birch trees behind that. The property line on the west side is probably over there, and then I'm not sure how far it goes to the east, but it's we'll get the measurements later for our use. Some old structure here with some wood that could be salvaged. Actually, let's go take a look at that. So we want to make use of all these things. Yeah, this is some old barn board and some old pallets. So that could be used for something. It's not a lot of it. Probably pretty limited use, but it's worth noting. And so here we have the first, it's the second or third stake. You'll see down the roadway, Dee Dee and her partner Attila have done a rough survey of this area, and they've started marking off the lots. So from here over to that post down there, that would be 1 lot, and from here over to that post, and then the next, that would be a lot, and then the next post over there would be another lot. We'll get the measurements. Everything's pretty rough at this point, and nothing's been built, so we have some freedom to suggest things as we go along. But how can I describe this? I'm trying to make this all intelligible to folks. This is basically, once we get over that rise of land and past the barn, we are in an area where the lots begin, and you'll be able to see that from the schematic diagram. And the land is very uneven. Some areas are flatter than others. The appeal for people who purchase lots here and build homes is that it's open, relatively open. You're not deep in the bush, so it'd be a little bit less buggy. You'd have more sunlight. You could put up solar and other kinds of things. If you wanted a wind turbine, you could micro turbine, you could do that. It's interesting, it's worth taking a look at what I was talking about earlier. This is typical pre-Cambrian shield. For any of you who don't live in Canada, this is some of the most ancient rock on the planet. It's billions of years old. You can see some moss and lichen down there. Lichen is very interesting. I've seen lichen that is hundreds, even thousands of years old. This stuff is very long-lived. We can look up whether there's anything we can do with the lichen, but this is in the summer with the snow removed. You would see that there's big stretches of this kind of rock everywhere. And one of the design ideas that I have is to pay some sort of homage to these rocks, because you find this all over this part of Ontario. I call it a whaleback shape, if that makes sense. It's sort of curved, very typically curved, and we might want to incorporate that in our style of some of what we design. And so there's another post, and over to there to another post. This is going to be somebody's lot in here. Some of the lots have lots of trees, some of them are more open. Here's some old, I don't know what, rusting stuff on the property. Now we're going to enter the bush, as I call it. So now we're following the road, and now we come into an area I would describe as a very thin forest. I have to be careful where I step here. The ground's a little bit uneven, although I'm sticking to the path. I'm probably not going to keep the camera on for the whole walk, much as I would like to, because first of all, I don't want to run out of memory on the SD card in this video camera, but also, you know, it gets a bit repetitious. And just as an aside, while I pan around here, I chose to come out here today on a whim because we had a break in the weather. There was a lot of warm weather over the Christmas New Year's break after the big storm, and a lot of the snow melted. So this might have been 4 feet of snow a week ago, but it's melted down to a very thin layer, and it's a fairly warm day. It's just around 0 degrees Celsius. That'd be what, 32 degrees Fahrenheit for you Americans? Last country on earth that's resisting the metric system. Anyway, we're in here now. These will also be building lots along the road. Long rectangles is what's envisioned so far. Although I don't want to limit us, maybe we could suggest to Dee Dee and the other people that we have more imaginative shapes. I would imagine that as we get serious about surveying the lots and selling them, that allowances will be made for the contours of the ground. For instance, behind those trees there's a rise in the land. It doesn't necessarily stop you building something, but you know, to impose a grid with rigid rectangles on this kind of property may not always make sense. We may have to go with a more cursive kind of a form. So I'll just keep the camera going here as I walk into the forest. The forest is getting a little more dense here. just a little more dense. It's not dense bush, and especially because we're on the trail, but now we're seeing there's a lot more trees. And just while we're here, I'll make note of the fact that we have different kinds of pine trees. I'll bring it in close so you can see what the foliage looks like. There's a lot. This is the predominant kind of tree on this property. There's some little trees growing here in this coniferous forest. Let's see, what other kinds of trees do we have? I'm not sure exactly what that is. Looks dead anyway. Actually, no, I do know what that is. That's a small maple tree, because I can see. Actually, is it maple? Those look like maple leaves. Yeah, it's shed most of its leaves. So we've got pine, and we've got maple trees, and there's a white or silver birch. You can see the white bark that the native people used to use to make canoes. So we got that kind of stuff. Going through a narrower area here. Got to watch my footing. Sorry if the videography is not the best. I'm just, I don't want to step into some kind of hole in the ground and twist my ankle out here. I happen, just so you know, there's no cell service out here. Maybe people will get by with some sort of satellite service, I don't know. But there's no cell service on my phone, so I wouldn't be able to call for help if I got into trouble. So I'm going to be cautious. Yeah, here's a birch tree. You can see the birch peeling off. People use that to make paper and various products. And as I said, the native people in what I call the Great Algonquin Forest used to use that for all kinds of things, including canoes made of birch. They would use the sap from the tree also to seal, to use like a glue to cement the different pieces of the bark together to make it waterproof. Okay, so we're just traipsing along. I don't mind keeping the camera running, I guess. Hope it doesn't run out of power or memory, because it's very important that we take a look at the back of the property. Now again, these could all be building lots. There's another, the road splits here and goes off in that direction. The good news is it gets confusing in here where you are once you get away from the road. Just panning around slowly. These could all be building lots in here. Obviously, people are going to have to cut down some trees, unfortunately, but maybe they can, if we have an on-site mill, we can use the lumber for the structures. I was just going to say, there's my footprints in the snow, so I'll be able to easily retrace my path back. And we're getting a break in the weather. It's going to be freezing rain and sleet later this afternoon, but I noticed there's about a 2-hour window that I'm taking advantage to come up here and look around. These would be more building lots through those trees. Everything's going to kind of go off of this road. It's funny when you come back to a place, especially when it's a different season, everything looks a little different. And this road is it's wider than I remembered. Again, it's not paved or graveled or anything. You can see through the snow, this is actually on the road. So it's basically a dirt road that's just had trees removed. And that's what makes it a road at this point. And I can't imagine we would ever pave it, but we might do some things to improve it, like sand and gravel or something, I don't know. So we're traipsing along. So just so you know, this path predominantly moves, let's see, what would it be? From south to north, moving through the property. It has some windiness to it, as you can tell. And so we're going from the highway, walking north or north, somewhat north. Just going to be careful here. I'm noticing these are footprints of animals in here, rabbits and things. I'm noticing a lot of what look like rabbit bunny paths. Probably some other animals. We have every kind of northern animal you can think of here. We have bears, which reminds me I should have bear spray on me, which I don't. I keep forgetting it. There's another road that breaks off this way, so that's another path. So that means we could have a road going down there to more houses or other kinds of structures. So that's to the east. That's looking north, and that's to the west. I'm not sure exactly how far into the property I am at this point. I'm probably, well, it's a 200-acre property, and it's a long rectangle that's much longer than it is wide, with the narrow sides of the rectangle parallel to the highway.